Hello, everyone. In this week's episode, Ed wanted to leave, so I decided to search for Cherry. I did a villager hunt, and it was 6 hours long, so I decided to split it up into separate videos. Also, I am going to build one of my besties on Luna Key's yard. I'm going to build Elmer's yard in this episode at the end. I decided to make Elmer's yard. Elmer is my bestie on Luna Key. He was on an old island before. He was on my very first ever Switch Lite island. I think I told the story before, but I lost the island because I dropped the Switch on the concrete and the screen broke. What happened was my mom said something to me, and I turned around and asked her what she said because I didn't hear her, and it fell and broke. She felt bad. It wasn't her fault. It was my fault because I didn't have the Switch Lite in a case. She replaced the Switch Lite. She also replaced Animal Crossing and the micro SD card just to be safe. I remember when I didn't find Elmer again on the new island that I replaced the other island that broke. She again said that she blamed herself for me losing Elmer. I told her that it wasn't her fault because it wasn't in a case, and she said that she felt bad I couldn't find Elmer. She said that if there was any way that she could get Elmer back to live on my island, she would. When I started this island, my first lazy neighbor was Elmer, which made me cry. Seeing him again, I think it was a sign from my mom. I decided to use the kitty partitions as a fence because Elmer loves to run around and play. That's why I used some of the kitty items introduced in the 3.0 update. Next week, I'm going to go over the 3.0 update in detail. I thought that the kitty items would fit Elmer's personality. Also, Elmer looks like he loves retro games, so I decided to add a Game Boy on his garden table next to his Moroccan sofa that he likes to sit and watch the sunset. I also added a picture with tea in it on the other side, which was also introduced in the 3.0 update. The reason why I added the Game Boy is because Elmer looks like he stands for physical media and for conserving old video games. I also added the bathtub with yuzu on the beach because Elmer loves learning about different cultures. He learned about the bathtub with yuzu, and in Japan, Elmer read that the yuzu fruit is added to hot water to promote circulation, warm the body, and it wards off seasonal illness. And he thought he'd like to try it, and he found it works for him too. I added barrels on every yard in Luna Key and also in my second island of Maple Bay. The barrels were added to his yard because they represent rain barrels. I also added Senaizuki barrels, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, to his yard because Elmer always says that he feels bad he didn't have any food ready for whenever anyone visits him. I added a blue foam box as reference to Doctor Who. I also added the windmill because my mom said once when she visited my offline island that he was on, it looked like that to her that he would be living on a ranch somewhere. So the windmill is a reference to what my mom said. This build for Elmer's yard is one of my favorites because Elmer is one of my favorite neighbors. Elmer, in my opinion, deserves the best. I found him sitting on the bench in the cemetery once, and I also found him visiting the memorial for my mom. I was visiting the memorial once, and he was running on the beach. He stopped and saw my character was sad. He looked again to make sure he saw it correctly, and then he ran over to ran over next to me like he was checking on me. Elmer is one villager that has a heart of gold. That's why he deserves the best yard. I want to add more to his backstory. Elmer was very shy growing up. He kept mostly to himself. He had one friend who had a band. She fired the vocalist because he was always late and he would only sing good if he felt like it. So she fired him. She didn't know what to do. They had a show that Saturday. She was going to talk to her bestie, Elmer, at lunch about what happened, and she heard him singing. His teacher asked him to sing a song because Elmer told him that he could sing. So he sang his favorite song, and she was standing outside the classroom door listening to him sing. After he finished, his bestie, who Elmer had a crush on, said that he needed to talk to him. She told him about what happened to the old vocalist, to the band, and she asked him if he wanted to join the band as the new vocalist. He said sure. They played shows for all 4 years of high school. He asked his bestie to the prom. She said yes, but the principal heard it, and he said to Elmer and his bestie that he needed a band to play at the prom, so they couldn't go to prom together, which made the whole band angry when they found out that they weren't getting paid for the 4-hour show. And the principal, added insult to injury, gave them a list of songs he wanted them to sing. Elmer, being the rebel he is, said, "We're guaranteed to walk the stage and graduate. Let's stick it to him and do our own thing." They did, and the principal wasn't happy. He couldn't stop them because his partner, who is his bestie, her brother played football and he wasn't allowed to take his partner to the prom. She already graduated 1 year before him, and the principal refused to give her a pass so she can come to the prom. He stood one side of the stage, and his best friend stood on the other side of the stage, and they were both built like football players. They both guarded each side of the stage so the principal couldn't get to the amplifiers to turn them off. Let's just say the principal had a really bad night. They played songs that they liked, and most of the songs that they played, the principal had on a banned list. Unfortunately, we didn't find Cherry. Next week, I will talk about the 3.0 update and what my opinion is of the 3.0 update. I will also build one of the very first hotel rooms, and I will also talk about the new neighbors that are introduced in the 3.0 update. Unfortunately, I do not have an amiibo to get Cece on the island, but I have one for Viche, and I also have one for Minoru and Tulin. Thanks for joining me in this week's episode. I will see you next week. Thank you for watching my video. If you like the video, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications.